Hey, all, welcome back to the Chalk Sports podcast, and we have a special one. It's NFL Pro time. It's Super Bowl time. We have Casey back for another one, and I'm just excited about this game.
It's the Super Bowl. This is what everybody, you play all year, you practice, you do all the things, you gear up for this. It's finally here, and the Super Bowl comes with everything that everybody wants. You get the non-football fans that are maybe they're Bad Bunny fans, maybe they're commercial fans. You get all that stuff, all of the pomp and circumstance that surrounds this game. It's us in the football industry. I work for the Colts, and it's the pinnacle. This is what everybody aspires to get to and reach every single year. And you know, you look back on the things if you aren't in this game that you're like, man, if we could have done this differently or this differently. And for the Colts, I mean, you look at this game and, heading into that final weekend, three of the four teams the Colts had played this year.
Yeah.
One of the teams representing the NFC in the Seahawks, the Colts took them all the way to the wire and required a Jason Myers, field goal to win everything there at the end for Seattle against the Colts. So it's a wild thing from from a lot of angles, a lot of perspectives. But yeah, this is what you want. I mean, it's regardless of your affinity towards either team, everybody's going to watch. Everybody's going to have a rooting interest one way or the other. And there's a ton of storylines, whether it's Sam Darnold, the once thrown away child. Now here he is guiding a team to the playoffs or all the way into the Super Bowl. And then you got Drake May, this young guy. He's the second youngest quarterback to ever start a game in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, there are all kinds of storylines. It's everything you want.
Wait, who's first? Is it Brock Purdy? For the starting. Oh, you're good.
That is a great question. I had that yesterday, and now I have lost. I don't think it is Brock Purdy. Let me see here real quick. I'm going to do a quick search, but I know that he is second.
Dan Marino?
Dan Marino, that's exactly who it is. Yes, Dan Marino.
That's shocking.
And then Dan Marino, everybody knows what happened. He never got back to another one.
Yeah.
So, you think about these moments, and that's one of the things, when you look at Drake May, some people might say, oh, he's, it's kind of like the Joe Burrow effect. Joe Burrow got to the Super Bowl and everybody's like, oh, he'll get to plenty more. He's still trying to get back to one.
Yeah,
Josh Allen, a guy that hasn't been there. So it's interesting for sure.
It is definitely especially for somebody like Drake May, where your season almost has felt very easy. You haven't had really a hard game. And that's what everyone's been nagging on you guys for is, who have they played? Playoffs, Herbert has never been amazing. CJ Stroud threw 4 interceptions. The Broncos had Jared Stidham. You look at the entire schedule, and it's all been, for a lack of a better word, a lackluster. All they've beaten
the Raiders in week 1.
Yeah, and so if you're in this position, how lucky it takes to be this far. You played, what was it, 3 playoff teams the entire year? And, 2, the Bills and the Panthers. And that's all that I see. So, and the Steelers. So, 3. So, you played 3 playoff teams all year, and then your playoff schedule is almost just as easy, especially with Bo Nix getting hurt and the collapse of the Broncos in general, just based off of Sean Payton's reaction after. I don't know if you've seen that. It's been insane.
Yes.
He's been dismantling that team, and it is not going good. But that's that's the story of their playoff run. They haven't had a challenge.
And ultimately, I mean, one of the things that you'll hear coaches and players, they always say is, you play the schedule in front of you, and that's the one thing about the NFL schedule, the way it's laid out, is, the teams that struggle one year, they have that benefit of having a little bit lighter of a schedule heading into that following year, and the Patriots are definitely reaping the benefits. I mean, they're a team who's picking the top 5, and now here they are, on the doorstep of a Super Bowl. And, nobody's going to feel sorry for you if you play a tougher schedule, but also no one's going to say, at the end of the day, when you look back in 20 years, if they win the Super Bowl, they're not going to be like, well, that was a cakewalk. At the end of the day, you play the schedule you have. Now, that they have definitely benefited from a handful of breaks, and you talk about the breaks, especially in the postseason. I mean, it has been a lot of them, and then that AFC Championship game was just wild because you think about the weather conditions and all the changes that may have happened if you looked at what the game and everything played out earlier in the game. If you're the Broncos, maybe you decide to take the points early instead of
Yeah.
going for it because ultimately no one was able to do anything during the second half. So there's a lot of that game back and forth, but at the end of the day, the tip of the cap to the Patriots taking care of business, winning the games they needed to, whether or not it was a lighter schedule. Here they are in the Super Bowl. I'm sure they're not at all like saying this was an easy road because it's always tough to get there. So they have an opportunity to take full advantage of a lighter schedule for sure. But the Seahawks team is about as good as they get.
Oh yeah, and we'll get into that and more. I want to talk about a little bit more on this Broncos game. First off, that fourth down, I will say to this day, even in hindsight, I would have gone for it too. I
I
said
understand.
it. We were touring FSU, so we were sitting in a a town bar. Me and my mom were just sitting there eating like pizza donuts, watching the Broncos and Patriots fans go at it. And I said to her, I was like, I go for this every single time, and he doesn't get it. I'm like, okay, maybe they'll score another. Maybe they'll get some more points up. Surely they'll get enough more points up. And it was just a struggle bus for the Broncos to where the Patriots didn't need to do anything. That defense is immaculate. But I mean, if you look at Jared Stidham, he's negative in every stat. In completion over expected, EPA per drawback, he was a net negative. And that's not a discredit to the Patriots, as in like they're not a good team. They're not a good team because they played easy. But at the same time, this is what you're dealing with versus what the Seahawks had to go through, which was a gauntlet from top to bottom. The teams they had to play, the Niners and the Rams, those are two of the best teams in the NFL and division games.
You remember us? You remember this conversation a couple weeks ago? I said that the NFC West was the best division in football, and three of the best, probably top five teams in all of football came from that division. And I think it played out. I mean,
Oh yeah.
ultimately, I think if you put one of those teams in the AFC, that's who's representing that conference in the Super Bowl. I really think that. Like, I honestly thought it was going to be the Rams last week,
I was so
but
convinced.
it just proves that Seattle they it is interesting, and I know you being the 49ers fan, you get to see it firsthand. But that division, it ain't going away anytime soon
Oh
either. I
yeah.
mean that's the thing. This is a division that is going to continue to be right there at the pinnacle of all of football, and it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of watch them battle out over the next couple of years because next year that could be the Niners there, and the year
Hope
after
so.
it could be the Rams. We'll see with Matthew Stafford and how much longer he plays, but whenever he's out there, I mean, clearly the guy was. I mean, he's the MVP of the league. That's what I would label him as the best player of the 2025 season. And so who knows what that future looks like, but clearly he's still capable to go out there and play at a very high level.
Yeah, and to toot my own horn a little bit, I said coming into this draft class that Nick Amanwari would be the best prospect anybody could pick up. And oh my goodness, that kid is insane.
Yep.
I've been decent at calling drafts. Like I had Puka, I had Kenneth Walker. I was very high on these guys, but I was so high on Nick Amanwari. And him playing in that Niners game, it was literally like my worst nightmare. I was looking at it like, why didn't we draft him? Because he was a second round pick, I think. But I always said he had the first round potential. I had him going to the Niners in my mock drafts just because I wanted him so bad. And I'm pretty sure what happened was it was the second round. The Raiders were on the clock, and they traded. The Seahawks jumped everybody, traded to get to him, and picked 35, draft him, and his season was all right to start. But as it went on, I mean, he played 42 snaps against the Niners in that regular. Oh, where's the? Oh, they don't have the. I don't know why they don't have the defensive stats for this season, but I mean, he was just getting tackles. He's everywhere. And that's what this defense is like culminated to is they're everywhere. There's every single snap. There's three guys on the ball instantly. Witherspoon's playing amazing defense. Job's been playing all right. They have Love out in the back with Dexter or not Dexter, right? Is it Dexter? Oh, DeMarcus Lawrence and just a stacked D line and DBs that make up for a little weak linebacker talent, but it's so swarmy with Kobe Bryant and just such a talented roster. I know I kind of rambled there, but I like that defense so much.
You're spot on, and that's that is kind of what you've, I guess, in some ways you have come to expect. I know it's very early into his tenure, but that's one of the things that Mike Macdonald has kind of been able to, he's really established that kind of culture and that nature already just in a couple years in Seattle. And, they play a lot like, I don't know if I want to go all the way back to like that Legion of Boom.
I was thinking it.
This is in some ways like when you think about those great Seattle teams, it was all because of the defense, and that's where you are here. But then you throw out on the offensive side, guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba. And, I think Rashid Shaheed has been a really, really nice trade acquisition for them. Cooper Kupp looked like he turned back a couple pages last week. And Sam Darnold has just been the perfect quarterback to kind of lead all of it. So in some ways, I want to say that this is a more complete team than what we saw during that heyday of Pete Carroll and that Gus Bradley Legion of Boom, if you will. It's been impressive to watch. And like I said, this is why I really think that this Seattle team, they're built for not just right now, they're built for the next 3 to 4 years.
Oh, yeah, and the way, I have the PFF grades on. Kenneth Walker's graded number 1, by the way. Suddenly, he has been amazing. And he was always good. I always liked him from Michigan State. I remember he had like a 5-touchdown game on Michigan and just steamrolled everybody. And that's kind of what this team has become, where their only weakness, in my opinion, is their offensive line and linebackers. It's the only weakness that the Seahawks have had. Because wide receiver-wise, you got Smith and Jigba. You throw the ball up, he's going to come down with it. That's what it's come down to. And you saw that in the Raiders game, or the Rams game, where it was insane. He was outplaying Puka Nacua. And that is really hard to do. And with that team, like you said, it's more complete almost. They have weakness. I like Zabel, but he's been kind of a weakness. He's still young, so it's tough to discredit him. Or Bradford. Charlie Cross has some tendencies that I don't like. Or Jalen Sundell has some weaknesses. But as a team, it's so complete. And Sam Darnold's been the driving force of it almost.
It's been impressive to watch, and I'm going to try and revert this a little bit back into the Colts conversation, just because I have to. I wear this patch here on my chest about every single day as I go into the office. But the Sam Darnold effect that he's had, the ripple throughout the entire NFL. In some ways, that's what the Colts are hoping to get out of Daniel Jones. Kind of the guy that was thrown aside and said, "You're not the guy," and ultimately you get an opportunity. And he's taken the most of it here.
Yeah, he has really found that almost. I wonder if it's just Vikings coaching. I'm blanking on his name right now, and it's bothering me. But
Kevin O'Connell.
Yes, O'Connell coaching and the 49er coaching. Because that's where both players kind of ended up. The Colts ended up finding Daniel Jones that's just kind of already evolved. I don't know where. It just somehow he just hit that stride. But with Sam Darnold, you saw it. He bounced to San Francisco, touched there a little bit, then went to Minnesota. And obviously you get some help in Minnesota because, you're throwing to Justin Jefferson. So it's not exactly the hardest job in the world.
It's pretty good, too.
Yeah. And, you could say the same thing about Jackson Smith and Jigba. But it's funny because it's such a, insane jump. You look at his stats in Carolina and in New York, he barely broke 3,000 passing yards. He only did it one time, and it was 2019 when he was 24 over, and he had 13, and for 2 seasons, he had more interceptions than touchdowns. And then you look at now, he's throwing 4,000 yards both years, and has had more touchdowns than interceptions in a large number. His EPA is positive when it was negative 99 in 2020. And it's just such a crazy development of, yes, the Seahawks definitely help him more than the Jets or the Panthers did. Like in Jigba, they made Geno Smith look competent, and we saw what Geno Smith does without the Seahawks. But at the same time, he still got to make the throws. And I feel like that's what we've seen. You're good.
I honestly thought with the Sam Darnold acquisition, I was like, that's kind of a lateral move with what you had in Geno Smith and going to Sam Darnold. I thought they could both be essentially the same kind of quarterback. Clearly, I was wrong because it seemed like Sam Darnold was the missing piece that they needed, and I mean, here they are. I mean, we're talking about them probably as what are they a
4.5 point favorite?
4.5. Okay, I mean they're the favorite to win a Super Bowl. So clearly, did you see the Tyler Lockett stat, by the way?
No, I did not. I'll pull that up.
I feel crazy for Tyler Lockett. So Tyler Lockett was drafted by the Seahawks after they went back-to-back Super Bowls. He spent, I don't know, a decade in Seattle, never reached a Super Bowl. This year he goes somewhere else, and the Seahawks go back to the Super Bowl. So his whole time in Seattle, no Super Bowl appearances, but right after and before, there were 3 total Super Bowls.
Good. He's caused me so much pain. Did you see the Pope one? There's another one where every time the Pope's elected, the Seahawks win a Super Bowl. It was like 2002. Hold on. Pope election and Seahawks. It's every time a new Pope's elected. So 2013, 2005, or they advanced to the Super Bowl. And this year, they're playing in the Super Bowl. So if they could do this again, it would be amazing.
You know what that means? They got God on their side, right?
They got a lot going for them. I feel like Jameis should have been on them. Jameis should find a way to get on that team. He would fit in so well.
Oh boy, wouldn't he?
I see. What's crazy is I wonder, like, if it was a Geno Smith problem or if it's Seahawks being a competent franchise. I know it might be a mix of both, but I'm thinking about it now. It's like I was so high on Geno coming in the season just because he looked good with the Seahawks. Yeah, and he was the 8th graded quarterback like every year with him. And now look at Sam Darnold, the 9th graded quarterback as a Seahawk, and it's just like it's just such a impressive. I know I hate giving them their flowers, but it's such an impressive turnaround for the Seahawks. They didn't struggle a lot last year, but the moves they made were so subtle but so good. Cooper Kupp, Rashid, like you said, Rashid Shaheed was an insane ad. Even I just gave him crap, but Zabel was a good addition. Nick Warrior was a good addition. Sam Darnold was a good addition. These are 5 guys who have made a clear impact and just got added. Like they just got picked up. Even Sundahl is still his sophomore year. I think Bradford's pretty young. Bradford's always been kind of mediocre, but like Charlie Cross has finally developed. He was always kind of he had some tendencies that I remember Bosa exploiting, where he had there was a moment where he had a zone step. His step was always like a little farther back if he was running zone block schemes. But they figured that stuff out, and they found a way to turn it into success after not even making the playoffs last year. I just realized that they didn't make the playoffs at all.
That is so incredibly difficult when you think about making one. I mean, the transition at quarterback, that for some GMs, sometimes that's it. You make the switch, and if it doesn't go right, all of a sudden your clock really starts to tick. And Seattle had, like I said, I thought Geno Smith was not the problem. I did not think that they needed to move on from him to elevate their game. I thought they needed to add more pieces around. But boy, was I wrong, because this is turning out to be one of the more impressive seasons. And what Mike Macdonald has done in 2 seasons in Seattle, it's unprecedented. I mean, the amount of road wins they have, it is like it's silly. Like it doesn't even make any sense at how impressive he has been. I mean, I want to say I thought I saw the number. It was like
they've one road loss
season. They're 24 and 10, I think, with just one road loss. I mean, what in the world? I mean, it's Yeah, I mean, clearly he has got something going on there in Seattle, and I hate to say it to you, you being a Niners fan, good luck dealing with that for the
Yeah.
next handful of years.
And what's crazy is they're 4-0 in NFC championships at home. I saw that stat earlier. But like one
Okay.
thing I really like about this team is the 1-2 punch. And I don't think he's playing in this game, but Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker
Yeah.
just being a combo. Obviously, I think losing that. I don't know if he's playing. I'd imagine not.
He tore. I think it was diagnosed a torn ACL, so I doubt he is
Oh yeah, he's
playing.
not playing then.
So he might be iffy to even be back by camp, honestly.
Oh ACL. Yeah.
But no, I completely agree with you because I thought Charbonnet was the better of the two.
It's close in
Down the
my mind.
stretch, yeah, down the stretch, I felt like he was really kind of turning it on, kind of overtaking a little bit of what Walker's touches. But then now you see what Walker has done in his absence, and it's like, well, you can't go wrong. Either or, both guys are dominant, and the way that Walker runs, God, he runs so hard.
Oh yeah.
I'm a big fan. I loved watching him last week. That watching him run against the Rams was a sight to be seen because it was just violent running, and it was impressive.
And now I'm just fully stunned. I had no clue. Charbonnet's graded third out of running backs. So they have
Okay.
two of the top 5 running backs, and that's me being generous and not just doing. They have two of the top 3 running backs because Walker's 1 and Charbonnet's 3. And I was high, like I said, I was high on what's his name? I was high on Kenneth Walker when he came into college. Like I was really high on him. He's been kind of this good guy, just nothing crazy. With Charbonnet, it's just like the Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb offense from the Browns 3 years ago. You remember that like little bruise
It's
and
pretty good.
like quick offense? That's what they do. And Charbonnet's
Yeah.
such a good downhill running back. Well, Kenneth Walker's a good open space. It's such a good combo. It's just like a glue piece almost of Kenneth Walker gets you down the field. And yeah, the jokes of the Charbonnet stealing the touchdowns are funny. I'm not going to lie. But they use that as such a good 1-2 punch. Okay. All right. I wonder if they're like defenses while they're on the field. They're like, oh, Kenneth Walker's on. Like, we got to play a little back, like, be ready for it. And then, like, Charbonnet comes on and they're just like, damn it. Like, the entire plan has changed now because Charbonnet's on the field. You can't give him space. So now they got to press up. And then Kenneth Walker comes back on the field. And if you're pressed up on Kenneth Walker, he'll run right by you. So it just feels like the perfect combo of 2 running backs who, if they're on separate teams, honestly, I don't know if they'd be amazing. But together, they fit so well.
And that's what the NFL is now. I mean, you have your handful of teams with the traditional bell cow, if you will, like the Niners, Christian McCaffrey. He's going
Yeah.
to be, he's a 3 down back. The Colts, Jonathan Taylor. You got Derrick Henry. But then it's the impressive thing. You Saquon Barkley, these kinds of guys, Josh Jacobs, all that. But then if you look at, what these other teams are able to do, and that's where the NFL is so interesting right now because we saw, kind of the up and down nature of the importance of the running back the last handful of years, and some of it can be true. You can see that absolutely you do want to pay your tight, like a Christian McCaffrey,
Yeah. You
he
don't let him go.
does nothing but help, that running back market. But then you have these teams that they say, hey, we're going with the committee, and that committee works out really, really well because both guys remain fresh. There's not, you're not like, okay, you got to go out and get 26 carries and you're getting 4. I mean, you can split it and you can have, certain packages that are geared towards one or the other. And it helps in that longevity of the room because sometimes you see with, personally here in Indianapolis with Jonathan Taylor, he played 80 some odd percent of the offensive snaps this year.
Oof.
But the nature of that business, the nature of the running back room is injuries are going to happen.
Yeah.
And who would have been if he had gone down? I mean, the backup guys in Indianapolis were Amir Abdullah, Tyler Goodson, and
Don't
then
talk bad
DJ
on Amir.
Gibbons was a rookie. Oh, I'm not talking bad.
I
I'm just
love
saying
Amir.
the impact that they would have is not like your Kenneth Walker to Zach Charbonnet because
Yeah.
they're both right there. So that just shows you that there's two ways of kind of operating, not saying one is better than the other. It's just if you can have two guys that are right there on that level playing field and you look at the end of the season stats and they combine for 12 to 1,400 rushing yards, it's like having that traditional bell cow.
Yeah, and the best part about it is like you said, I was trying to think of like bell cow running backs. I can think of six. Bijan,
Yeah.
McCaffrey,
Yep.
Henry, James Cook, Saquon, and then I can't remember the last one. I thought I had one
Probably.
more. Oh, Jonathan Taylor. But it's
And
like,
I mean, even to your point, when you say Bijan, I mean Tyler Algier is a guy that
oh,
gets a
that's
lot of
true.
carries.
I forgot about
He's
Tyler.
definitely, I mean, I would say that you're right having Bijan in that category, but they do kind of have that change of pace. You talk about stealing touchdowns. That's kind of what Algier does. He's that short yardage kind of running back. So yeah, there's absolutely that completely involved.
And it's crazy. Like, let's pick apart like the teams that made the playoffs. The Patriots have Stevenson, Henderson, and I
Yep.
thought there was one more off the dome. I can't think of it. Steelers have Gainwell, and they have Wow, I'm just forgetting everyone's name today. They have Gainwell, and there's another running back that's on the
Yeah,
team, Warren.
it is. Yeah.
So
No.
that
Yeah.
okay, the two Texans. You have Woody Marks and Nick Chubb.
Yep.
Broncos, you have like six different running backs. I'm not even going to try to name them all.
Depends on who they bring up from the practice squad that
Yeah,
week.
it's just like a cycle.
Jaleel
The
McLaughlin.
yeah, the Chargers have Hampton and Kamimi Vandell. Eagles are different. Lions have Lions didn't make the playoffs, but they have Gibbs
Yeah.
and Monty. Green Bay has what's his name? The
Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson.
no, there's one more. Oh, maybe it was Manuel Wilson. I was thinking of someone else. I think an old Packer. The Bears have a Swift and Mongani. Like you
Yeah.
could Panthers, Rico and Chuba. Rams have
Exactly.
Blake Corum and Kyron Williams. Seattle we talked about. 49ers mostly focus on McCaffrey, but you could just go through every playoff team has these two running backs that are good. And that's what really makes them. I'm starting to like notice a theme now. Like as I'm talking this out, like the Jags even have Etienne, and they had Tank. Who's the other running back?
They have Tootin.
That's it, Tootin. We love and LaQuinton Allen too. If they throw him in every once, but like that's starting to be the trend. Is okay. You need a good quarterback. You need a good O line. D line obviously helps, but when you're the Jags or something, having that like that two-headed dragon of Tootin and Etienne are even like the worst of them in my opinion. Like even the Chiefs could use another guy. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco didn't work, but that's a good combo. And obviously, like I'm so excited to talk about the draft when we get there one day. But the Chiefs are going to draft a running back, and that's going to be what's going to make them better next year. Is we're going to see teams drafting running backs. I'd imagine they'll draft them earlier. Like I have the Chiefs drafting Jeremiah Love at 9, and I know this is getting off Super Bowl, but it's just like I feel like this is going to be a shift. It's going to be a shift that everyone's going to notice, and it's going to cause a lot of. I think it's going to cause a lot of overcommits too. I feel like we're going to see like a few teams draft running backs within like the first 2 picks, and just reach super hard on one. But at the same time, I feel like it'll cause that shift that'll lead to the teams who adapt quickly, like Seattle, like New England, like the Niners, like the Rams, the Packers, the Bears, like all these teams that developed early are going to take advantage of it. And then once everyone catches up, unless you have a Jonathan Taylor or James Cook or such, then it'll be a different thing, if that makes sense. I don't know where I was going with that. I kind of lost my train of thought.
Ultimately, what you're talking about, here's the only, I would say this is a bit of a caveat to that. You think about what the Raiders did, taking Ashton Genty 6th overall, and they really struggled. So I'll be anxious to kind of see how it weighs because it seems like every year it kind of bounces back and forth. But I mean, Jeremiah Love, he legit. He looks legit. I mean, being in the state of Indiana, we get a lot of Notre Dame stuff, A lot of Notre Dame fans around these areas, and Jeremiah Love looks to be the real deal. So
Oh
I
yeah.
agree with you. I think it's going to be fascinating because that's always one of the positions for me that, the devaluing we have seen over the last handful of years. But then again, you always see it kind of trickle back up into you can devalue it, but it is so important if you can have one or two of those guys that can just be game changers. And if you can get your hands on a game changer and put them with a Patrick Mahomes, that's a pretty good combination.
Yeah, it's just such a dangerous group. And I just loved like the Nick Chubb and Woody Marks combo was insane. If they ran that thing more, I bet you they might have beat the Patriots just because they threw the ball so much and threw so many interceptions. That kind of thing could have made the difference in a game.
It could have. And boy, man, CJ Stroud he looked
Oof.
like he was seeing ghosts out there.
What
I
was
was
his
blown away that
PFF
they
grade?
kept allowing him to throw the football. It
Yeah,
was that was a struggle. It's one of the things. This goes back to the Colts conversation with the Texans being the AFC South. The Colts, that's kind of their rival right now. That's a team everybody's looking up to because they've won the division now a couple years, and it's one of those. That's the team that they've got to be able to beat moving forward. I know the Jags won it this year, but I still think the Texans, for a more complete team, especially when you look at how good that defense is. But C.J. Stroud, he has really regressed since what we saw as his rookie year,
his
where
rookie year was
he looked to
crazy.
be just incredible, and now he has taken a couple downward turns, both in his second and now his third year. I'm anxious to kind of see what he looks like as he heads into year 4 because it's starting to get in that territory of should we have gotten rid of the offensive coordinator last year? Is there other issues going on? Because Nico Collins is a great weapon for everybody. Still having some struggles there with C.J. Stroud. I'm anxious to kind of see how that all kind of takes a turn here in 2026.
Yeah, and factor how PFF grades how you want. Like I factor them decently high. I'm not the Vikings GM, and I'm not drafting based off of those. I don't know if you saw that come out
I
recently,
did.
but CJ Stroud's graded 31st. Justin Fields is a grade higher than him.
Yep.
And now take that with a grain of salt again. I think there's been some years where it's kind of been wonky, but that still shows like he has had a regression. Now, I'm sure you're celebrating so hard that he's having this regression, but there's people like Marcus Mariota graded ahead of him, or Spencer Rattler, who's a rookie who played like half the year and it was amazing. But there's so many guys that are Kirk Cousins is graded higher than him. That one I don't know if I agree with, but it's come to a point where you wonder what the future is with the Texans, and we are so off Super Bowl, but it's like it's good conversation that listen, there are teams that change based off the Super Bowl. I feel like we've seen it a few
Absolutely.
times with I mean if I go back to old Super Bowls, I wonder like there's just tendencies that I feel like teams pick up on and like obviously owners put a lot of pressure. If you look at all right, Eagles Chiefs, the team saw a heavy shift in running backs and defenses, and I think we saw teams upgrade that. The Chiefs
Yep.
had Mahomes, and everyone tried to get the quarterback of the future, or Julian Edelman being like that wide receiver, or Nick Foles being the backup quarterback. I feel like those guys who make those big impacts, start to
100%.
shift the way of you. So a Super Bowl isn't just the game that is being played. Obviously, it's pretty awesome that they're playing a Super Bowl, but at the same time, you look at the game and you go, okay, this is what's shifting. This is going to be what's changing. And I feel like Bill Belichick, non Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick, was one of the best guys at doing that. Okay, this is shifting. The white wide receivers who fight really hard are really good at football. Let's throw them in, and they won 8 Super Bowls with it. It's
Well,
just you're good.
the biggest thing, and this is, I mean, you've heard this, I've heard this. It's a copycat league. So that's what you're trying to do. You're
Yeah,
trying to find whatever blueprint you have that can be closely related to whatever you saw success from somebody else. You're going to try it, and that's a great point. I mean, I look back. I've always said this. We were lucky enough in Indianapolis to have Joe Flacco in 2024, and he was fantastic.
yeah,
I was able to sit down and talk with him for about 45 minutes about just non-football stuff
Oh, you
and
lucky
off the
man.
record completely. But he was fantastic. But one of the things that I mentioned to him, I said, "Do you ever think about you in the Super Bowl with Baltimore? You go on this massive run, and he's kind of the reason that the quarterback market went up so high. Like he was like that first huge contract for a quarterback based off of winning a Super Bowl, being the Super Bowl MVP. He gets this massive contract, and now it's like the baseline for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And you talked about Nick Foles. Nick Foles goes out and shows you the importance of having a backup quarterback, and now all of a sudden you see this market for backup quarterbacks, and it's like you got to have your guy, and that's exactly what it is. It's a copycat league, so you go out and you find whatever is closest to the guy that led their team to the pinnacle. You want to have that guy, and that's exactly what it is. It's just, and Bill Belichick. It's a great that's a great comparison because that is what he did so well. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't anything that you're like, wow, how did they make that trade? It was like they got who, and then you watch him play, and it's like, okay, he fits that role. This guy fits that role, and all of those pieces, they win. It,
Yeah.
it makes total sense, but that's exactly what it is.
And I mean, non-Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick, so factor that in. How you will, and also thank you for mentioning to Super Bowl 47 because always hits home. Not
Oh, I'm
really,
sure.
not really,
I'm
because I
sure.
couldn't I
I'm
couldn't
sure.
tell you. I knew I got carried around the house. I was like I was like young. I got carried around the house.
Okay.
And also, if you
I
mentioned it,
understand.
if you mentioned to somebody that Joe Flacco was the reason why the quarterback market is so high, I think like a new gen football fan, they would be stunned. It would
Yep.
be it would be life rocking. But that's like the kind of another one that I thought of while you're talking. 2021, the Buccaneers roll into their home stadium and roll the Chiefs, and it was because of the D line. And then you look at the
Yep.
Rams. Who do they have on that D line? It's Aaron Donald. It's a stacked, built defensive line that
Right.
dominated Joe Burrow. It put a pressure on him. I thought they had they had 7 sacks in that Super Bowl,
Yep.
which is
That
obviously
was
the Bengals' fault partly, but at the same time, okay, one team does it, another team does it. Eagles do it, Niners do it,
yeah.
Chiefs do it. They built like this trend that shoots up, and you kind of got to look a little hard to find these, but they make a difference.
Goodly because they gave up all those sacks, and then all of a sudden they had a fully reworked offensive line heading into that next season because they're like, we were right there. We just had nobody that could block. Now, I think it was a mixture of, maybe a subpar offensive line against a really good D line,
Yeah,
but all of those things matter. I mean, it is, you think about it, you get to the biggest game, so you think those rosters are pretty complete. They're there. But ultimately, that team that loses, they feel like they have a long way to go to be able to correct those wrongs to get back to where they were. And that's also part of it because they're looking at that team on the other sideline going, well, they beat us in this category, this category, this category. We've got to get those right in order to get back here.
and I wonder if it'll kind of correct itself because if you look at the Rams, I was trying to think of like teams that often most teams that lose don't get back to it.
Right?
So, like, I mean, no offense to you. You brought up my one, so I'm going to throw out yours. Super Bowl 44. The Colts made it. They got kind of whomped because of Drew Brees' God tier moments, and then they had a hard time getting back, which is
Exactly right.
understandable because it's hard to get there, but at the same time, they haven't seen it since. Or the Cardinals, or the Bears. There's so many teams that make it and then just fall short, and then they don't find a way back. Atlanta Falcons. And then you look at the Rams.
The
They fall
Falcons, such a good one.
they fall short. They do a huge trade. They get Matthew Stafford. I remember making I tried to make a docu on it, but I couldn't get B-roll because I knew the NFL would copyright me if I used actual clips. So
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford goes from this nobody, or not nobody, but he was stuck in Detroit. He wasn't doing anything, but things were getting risen. And LA just they made the playoffs, but lost. They lost in the Super Bowl recently because of Jared Goff. Okay, let's go get a guy. They got Matthew Stafford, but win the Super Bowl the next year. And I wonder if that's kind of the motive behind I'm trying to think of a team that did that. You could say the Seahawks almost did that, where they got their guy. They were comfortable. Sure, Geno Smith would have been fine. But they found a guy in Sam Darnold, and they're like, you know what? We'll go all in. We'll throw the chips on the table and hope it works out.
This is a hard one. I guess this is what's coming to my mind. I mean, you think about the Chiefs all those years with Alex Smith getting to the playoffs, but not being satisfied with just getting there.
Yeah,
So they make the trade in the draft to go get this guy out of Texas Tech that, there's up and down grades on who Patrick Mahomes was going to be, and then all of a sudden we saw what he became. And that's what it is. It's taking those chances, not being satisfied, not being complacent with just being good.
yeah,
You want to try and get over that hump, and that's something that you see. I mean, you talk about that Rams team. That's one thing that I've always said about the Rams. Whenever they have Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, you cannot count them out. And you
no,
put in there Puka Nakua, and you just can't. I mean, that's what those kinds of play. We have this one of our radio analysts here in Indianapolis. He talks about ambient players. They're a two Tylenol guy when you're looking at them on tape. And those are what Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford are because they have so many ways to beat you. It makes it really, really hard to game plan. And that's exactly what those kinds of players do.
yeah. And you look at the Rams; they didn't get complacent. In 2 years after the Super Bowl, when they lost the playoffs twice, they go out of their way and get Puka Nakua in the fifth round.
Yep.
When they had Cooper Kupp, a guy who won the Triple Crown 2 years ago, they went out and got Bryant Young and Kobe Turner and Stetson Bennett, and Nick Hampton. They found these guys, and that's kind of what was the turning point for them. The Patriots had a mediocre offensive line. They went out of their way. They got their guy. They got their coach. When they already had a comfortable coach, he wasn't anything special, but he was still a good coach. They had a good running back, but they got Travion Henderson. They added these guys to upgrade them. Andres Borregales, like I butchered the heck out of his name, but he was drafted this year. He's a rookie, but he's made that difference. Jalen Polk, Drake May, obviously they needed a quarterback, but Joe Milton, they drafted Joe Milton as backup. Okay, you could say, oh yeah, that didn't work out, but that was a good backup plan because they didn't get complacent. They didn't say, oh yeah, we just got Joe Milton, we're fine, or we got Drake May, we're fine. We don't need to risk anything because if Drake May didn't work out, they had Joe Milton backing up. And I think I could find the same thing with the Seahawks, where Jalen Milroe they drafted. They had Sam Darnold, but they needed competition. Gray Zabel was a good pick. Nick Amon-Ward, they already had a good defense in Kobe Turner, but they got Nick Amon-Ward. They went out and got their guy. And, I mean, there's nobody that really developed that well yet. A.J. Barner was a fourth-round pick last year. I'm pretty sure they had Noah Fant, which was the Broncos' old tight end, but he was good. They could have left it with him, but no, they went out and got AJ Barner, and yeah, he's not like some crazy guy, but he's still good. And Jigba, Witherspoon, Sharp. Holy crap, that 2023 class was crazy. Cam Young, Bradford, Zach Charbonnet, and Jigba and Witherspoon all in the same draft. It's almost like a point of just drafting well will turn your team around quickly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I guess that's obvious, but it's just like,
Well, it sounds obvious, but it's also a lot harder to do. And that's the thing. When you can identify guys and you can fit the roles for those guys, it makes that clock a little bit quicker to get there to you because you never know when that window is. And you got to strike while the iron is hot. And for the Seahawks, they've been able to quickly turn that window into right now. And here they're reaping all the benefits for it.
yeah. So, okay, you want to get into predictions?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
What do you think's going to happen?
All right. So
We can go quarter by quarter if you want.
Told you this. I think I told you this a couple weeks ago, and I've mentioned it on this podcast. I think that the NFC West is the best division in football. They have the best teams in football. I think the Seahawks win this game. The only thing that gives me pause, this is it, is I think when you look at the quarterbacks, I do give a slight edge to Drake May because I do think that there's a little bit more that he can offer than Sam Darnold. But Sam Darnold has the weapons. Nothing against Stephon Diggs, but I think if you have to compare, weapon to weapon, I think I like the Seahawks. So I'm going to give the slight edge to them, and I also think their defense is going to be better than what New England is. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think always the Super Bowl, it's a little bit more low scoring. It takes teams a little bit while to kind of get into it. So I think this is going to be a close one. I think it's going to be decided by. I think you said 4 was the number.
4.5, yeah.
4.5. Okay, so I think it's right inside that. I think if it was if I was a betting man, I'd probably take the points with New England, but I do think that Seattle is going to come out on top, and Sam Darnold is going to be hoisting a Lombardi Trophy.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, I think obviously the weapons are so much better for the Seahawks. I mean, I like Booty, I like Matt Collins, but they're no Rashid Shaheed and Cooper Cup.
Yeah, their secondary pieces are pretty impressive too, for sure.
And so, with this game, I think with the experience that the Seahawks hold in some regards with Cooper Cup, and I feel like just Cooper Cup in general, it's such a good leader that the experience almost becomes kind of more towards Seattle with how good of a leader Cooper Cup is. He could take over and point it out. And I also agree with you that defensively wise, it's kind of it's way close for me because I think this defense has been so slept on. But I think I go Seahawks. I think I agree with you. I agree with you pretty much on everything you said. The one caveat I think that could be a problem for the Seahawks would be the defense, the cornerbacks and secondary of the New England stepping up. Because they've been good. We've seen good from Marcus Jones, we've seen good from Gonzo, and we've seen good from Carlton Davis. If they take that step against the Seahawks team and shut down the passing game, now it kind of puts them in a trenches battle that it can go either way. And that is the game. That is the worst case scenario for the Seahawks.
And we have seen Sam Darnold has thrown the ball. He's going to take his risks. He's going to put the ball in harm's way. So that'll be one also little caveat too. If this New England defense can be opportunistic and take advantage of some of those, that could flip everything as well. And I guess one more other thing I want to mention on this is Mike Vrabel. This is a guy who, as a player, he was know it all. He knows everything that's going to happen in a Super Bowl game. He's been to plenty of them. So I think that is kind of a wild card as far as the coaching aspect goes, being able to get his guys ready to go and all of that. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to see the guys on the field. There's going to be a team that's just going to be a little bit better, and I think that team that's just a little bit better is Seattle, and I think they're going to come out on top.
Oh, I thought Mike McDonald coached in the Super Bowl. Huh.
I don't think he was there during that Baltimore run. I think he's a little younger, so.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could credit, he didn't play 2023 Michigan. So, yeah, that's so funny that he's so young. 38 is young for a coach. It's old for a player, but it's so young for a coach.
Yep.
And it's just
very old for a player. 38, you're like, oh boy.
We're rolling grandpa out there. And 38, we're like, oh my goodness, this coach is insane.
Exactly.
I'm excited for the Super Bowl. I think I disagree with you on the points. I think it goes Seahawks. Just because I'm expecting a lot from the Seahawks defense. I think that defense is just going to scare this Patriots team. And if Drake May gets rattled early, I think it'll be hard to get him back. And if Will Campbell keeps playing like he has been, that'll be another position where Will Campbell hasn't been playing great in this playoffs. Okay. Yeah, he's not matched up against anything crazy. Noasu isn't special. But, he's special. He's in the NFL. But I just wonder, I don't know how it's going to go. But I feel like somehow the Seahawks will win. And that'll be...
I'm right there with you. I think they win. I think it's going to be a little bit close. I feel like I don't have all the scores in front of me. I just feel like most Super Bowls tend to be a little bit closer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's good. I think it's a really good matchup because I think you have kind of the best of both worlds. Like you've got two teams that have really good defenses, but I think you also have some of the young stars offensively. I think Drake May is going to be a quarterback for a long time that people are talking about as being, one of those top half, top tier quarterbacks. Yeah. And then you look at, we talked about it, the weapons there in Seattle. I'm not throwing any shade on Sam Darnold. He's just, I think we need to see a little bit more consistency over a couple more years to kind of put him in that tier. But Jackson Smith and Jigba is, he is definitely one of those top 5 wide receivers in football. You could put him up there with, the Jamar Chases, the Justin Jeffersons of the world. He is right up there for sure. So it's going to be a lot of fun because there's a lot of firepower on both sides.
I'd argue there's only one guy above him in Puka Nacua.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm really high on these young guys.
I'll tell you, the year that he just put up, it's hard to argue with you because that is,
unless you're my father.
His year was really?
He got so fired up. They're like with the way JSN's been playing, he's probably the second best wide receiver in the league, and he's like, "What league?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" I was like,
what do you have? What 1,700 yards?
Yeah, an average Tuesday,
20 catches. Those numbers, those are, they are video game numbers that he put up.
He led the league in yards. I'm fairly confident in. So
I'm sure you're probably right.
By the way, your Super Bowl point, there's been, since 2010, there's been like 6 Super Bowls that were not one-score games. I'm counting the 49ers Chiefs one because it was one-score game pretty much the entire game, and then we just pooped the bed, like always.
Yeah.
But every other game, it was one-score game. So you're dead on with that. I wonder what the spread rate is. I'll have to look that up and send it to you. I wonder what the spread rate is of, like, how often these guys make the Super Bowl, or the spread is somewhere towards far, like somewhere against them, but they cover it. I wonder what that stat would be.
Yeah.
By the way, JSN it was JSN, Puka, George Pickens. That's such a whoa. George Pickens
was third?
Yeah.
I knew he had a good year. I had him in fantasy. He was very productive for me, but I didn't realize he was third.
What's crazy is he's 300 yards behind Puka and JSN. Yeah. All right. I think that's all for us, boys, though.
All right.
Hopefully I can get you back in for draft.
Yeah, we'll have to. I'll start diving into some guys, and we'll try and figure this all out. But yeah, if I don't talk to you before the Super Bowl, we'll have to reconnect and get our thoughts on everything that we see.
Oh yeah, thank you for coming on.
Awesome, man. It was great. I always do this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Everyone else who made it this far, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.